Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to go over this monstrosity of a list that Rotten Tomatoes just put out there. So they put this list out in full confidence. This is what they believe, the website, whatever. They believe this whole list, everything is right. This is the top 200 horror movies of all time. Now, I'm not showing the top 10 yet because we're going to go by one. But this is absolutely terrible. Now, let me point this out. If you go to Rotten Tomatoes for film reviews, you're going to the wrong places. I recommend watching people like Chris Stuckman, Jeremy Jans, and stuff like that, actual viewers that don't have a political agenda. I will say this about Rotten Tomatoes. The Joker, which I reviewed on my podcast, which was a very good movie, just lost its certified fresh rating. You're telling me The Joker isn't better than a movie like Zombieland 2, which isn't that good. It's not better than some of the other films that have come out this year. The Joker has been by far the best shot film and probably the best film to come out this year. And it's below 70%. So if you go to Rotten Tomatoes for reviews, you need to look other places because they're not reliable. And this is only confirmed by this list. So let me point out some things. The Shining, I believe, is not even in the top 100. The Shining's a top 10 horror film for me. That movie is just a masterpiece by Stanley Kubrick. If that's not in your top 10 horror movies, you need to readjust. They have all the classic and stuff like that, but they have like Zombieland in here. They even have, let me go up. Some of the older ones, it's fine, but there was a one that I saw that was like, what? How is this even in here? Evil Dead 10 Cloverfield Lane. That's not really, it's more of a thriller, and this obviously includes thrillers. Yeah, it 2017 is nowhere near top 50 in my list. It's a good movie, but it's not better than Aliens. It's Cabin in the Woods is good. It's not better than a lot of these movies that they're showing right here. Drag Me to Hell is a terrible movie. Creep 2 is good, but Creep 1 is better. So let's go through their top 10. If you haven't seen the Creep films, go watch them. They're not bad. But let's go through their top 10. Number 2 and 1 are going to be god awful. So obviously Jaws, I wouldn't put in my top 10. I mean, it's a good monster movie, but you know. So Night of the Hunter, I haven't watched, so I can't disagree with that. Alien, I put Aliens here. I think Aliens is the superior film to Alien. Aliens is probably the best. Well, it's one of the best sequels of all time, and it's probably the best horror sequel of all time. So you have to have that in here. The movie is better than the first original Alien. Psycho, the 1960 version, it's a good movie. It's a good movie. Do I think it's top 10 worthy? No. It's a good look into the mind of a killer. It's a good movie. You should definitely watch it, but it's not one of my favorites. Nosferatu, you know, being such a classic that it is, if you haven't seen Nosferatu, if you just want a good laugh, watch this. Go watch the original House on a Haunted Hill. It's a classic. Personally, I've only seen it once, so I don't think I'd put it in my top 10, but I do think it belongs to be on like a top 200 list. It is one of those building blocks for the horror genre. Number 6 is the original King Kong, again a monster movie. I don't agree. A lot of these old movies I wouldn't put in my top 10s. I just think there's other stuff that should be in it that have made more of a cultural impact. And a lot of these movies, what the way I would rank them is, are they watchable today and do they still have that impact today? And I don't think King Kong, Nosferatu, and Psycho have that. I think something like an Aliens and The Shining still has that, but these don't. The Bride of Frankenstein. I really like that movie. I put it lower on the list. It'd probably be around the 30 to 40 range for me. So this is the first thing that threw me off. A Quiet Place. Okay, it's a good film. Don't get me wrong. It is nowhere near the best. It's nowhere near. It's not better than The Shining. It's not better than Scream. It's not better than Halloween. It's not better than Nightmare on Elm Street. I could go on. It's not better than all of these movies on here. Like, I don't think I can make a case for this movie to be in top 50. I really don't. I can make a case for it maybe being top 150, but fourth place ever? That's fucking. It's incredible how they put this on there. The Cabinet of Dr. Calgary. I haven't seen this movie, so I would not know. So here's where it gets good. Get Out, 2017 movie. It was overhyped. If you go back and watch, the movie's overhyped. And to be honest, not really a horror movie. It has horrific um, ideologies and themes, but it's not what I would call a classic horror movie. I would not put this in the top 100. It's better than Us, but I don't think it's that good of a horror movie. I don't think it's that good of a film. Jordan Peele, he came on the scene and he did a good enough job for this. I don't think it deserves a 98%. I think the film's around a 70. It's an average movie. It's shot well, but is it better than other movies? Like I keep bringing up The Shining. I think A Quiet Place is a better film than Get Out. But number one is the creme de la creme, the most overhyped movie that came out of this year. That's Us. That is Us. Now, first off, let me get this out of the way. Get Out is better than Us, by far. I would say Us has interesting ideas, and the themes that you can definitely take away from it are cool. Of like, maybe the most horrifying things are ourselves or us. I just think the movie is overhyped in a lot of ways. I don't think it's as deep as people want to make it. And honestly, it does get boring at certain times. The second act really drags, and once you watch it for the first time, there's nothing to make you go back and watch it again for. Now, the twist at the end is good, but it's nowhere near something like even The Village has a better ending. She hops over the wall and you realize it's modern day times. Like that's a good M. Night Shyamalan twist. This I don't think hits it, and I certainly don't think it's number one of all time. This is absolutely ridiculous. I can break down that film even more if you want. Make sure to leave a like if you want me to break down Us and why it's an overhyped movie. The movie is a 70%. It's not what people think. I don't know why everyone really likes the two Jordan Peele movies. They're good. They're not classics. They're not great. That's all I'll say about them. So I'll go ahead and I'll give you like my top five. Okay, so number five is The Exorcist. Now, this movie still holds up today. It is still scary. It has all the aspects you need of a horror film. And you got to remember, when this first came out, people were running out of the theaters because of how scary it was. There hasn't been a movie like that since. If you want to talk about how badly shot it is and kind of some of the dialogue woes of the film, that's fine. But as a core horror movie, I think you have to see The Exorcist, and I think you have to have it at least in your top 10. Number four is Poltergeist. Obviously, the kid going into the TV and them having to save the kid and everything like that. Well, that's iconic. That is iconic imagery. Even people like Family Guy and all of that have made fun of it and has actually made some pretty good episodes on it. But Poltergeist was this really cool paranormal movie that really pushed the genre for ghost, I guess, horror movies to progress and to go further. The Exorcist, you got to remember, even though it's dealing with some paranormal stuff, it's still the main thing is the girl, right? But in Poltergeist, you're so interested in, I don't know if you want to call them, I guess they're demons. I don't know, or ghosts. You're so interested in the ghosts, and they take the kid, and the kid's talking through TV. It's such a good movie. Three, I think it's Scream. This is a personal favorite of mine. I think Scream did everything so well because at the time, slasher movies were everything. We just got out of the phase of all the Nightmare on Elm Streets and the Friday the 13th and the Halloween and stuff. We got through all, well, Halloween was still coming out, but we were getting over that. And Scream came out at the right time to say, hey, how come all these movies are the same? How come they all have these same ideologies and stuff? And Wes Craven, who made Scream, made all those bad Friday the 13th movies. So he was able to flip the genre on its head and say, hey, here's everything that you're doing the same, and I'm going to break the fourth wall all the time, and it's going to work in my movie and help support my films at the end. And what I love about Scream is they kept bringing up how the boyfriend's always the killer and everything like that, and it throws you off to where you're like, oh, then they're not going to make Billy the killer. But then it brings it back to the Billy being the killer, and obviously and Steve and stuff being the killer. And also this has great references to Halloween. Obviously Halloween's playing through the later act. It's such a good film, and the beginning scene is one of the best introductions for a horror movie icon ever. Number two is the original Halloween. Score aside, this movie is it is as close to perfect as you can get besides number one. I love all the scenes where you are behind the mask with Michael. You were hearing him breathing. You can see what he's seeing. And I think the new Halloween movie did that well, where they have the long tracking shots and you can see where he's going. This movie started that. All the imagery that comes from this movie, like him coming through the closet and just that William Shatner mask, just it's so fucking good. And then the score just seals the deal. It is fucking incredible. Obviously, it's a little dated, but still, I think for a slasher movie, it's still the best. Number one, I think you could have guessed, it's The Shining. The Shining is the best horror film of all time. First off, if you want to talk about just all the hidden imagery of the film, people are still trying to figure out what Stanley Kubrick was trying to say. There's so many different interpretations of the ending where you see Jack Nicholson's character in the mural of the Overlook Hotel, and it shows, I forget the day, I think it's 1968 or something like that. And there's all these different interpretations of the movie, that what makes that movie so great is every time you go into it and watch it, there's a new way for you to interpret something and to maybe spin it on its head. Like, people think the carpet is penises. People think the carpet is the rocket ship. And there's huge long theories about how this is a way for Stanley Kubrick to show that he did fake the moon landings with the government. He filmed all of it. And there's different ways of showing how Jack Nicholson's character was an abusive father and what he did to his kids. And so there's just so many hidden meanings to that film that, first off, it already stands out in its own regard. The imagery is incredible. You have, obviously, Danny rolling around on his little bike, and he sees the two little girls. You have room 237 and that whole sequence. And you have Red Rum. Just, and obviously the most iconic shot is Here's Johnny. And obviously that deserves a place at number one just for that scene. The only thing I would give this movie flack for is Shelley Duvall's character. I always disliked her, but I do like Danny. Jack Nicholson just absolutely nailed it in this movie. The final maze scene is great, and how Danny outsmarts him. The blood rushing down the hallway, just overall, and I like how you can progressively see Jack's character losing his mind. You know, he goes to the bar and he starts drinking, and then as that happens, he's slowly losing his mind even more and more. So, phenomenal film. So those are my top 5. When I think of horror movies, the ones I go to immediately are The Shining and Scream. I don't really watch The Exorcist as much, but you have to have that in there. But as you can see, I'm scrolling through the list of all the new Halloween. Really, 92 of all time. I forgot about Texas Chainsaw. House on a Haunted Hill, the newer one in the 90s. I actually really like that movie. Bone Tomahawk's a good movie. But yeah, a lot of these I don't get, and a lot of them are The Shining. 101? 101? The Shining? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The only thing I would say is bad about that movie is Shelley Duvall. That's it. This list came out and I was so Exorcist 107. I mean, if we're going to be real here, if you're ranking movies, you have to take into account the cultural impact. And does the movie still hold up today? And I think The Exorcist does. I think The Shining does, and especially Scream does, because it's all the calling out that it does on horror movies and slasher movies still holds up today, because a lot of them are still doing the same things. Invitation's a good movie on Netflix. But yeah, I'm going to stop going through the list, so I'll keep recommending movies. So please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.